It's time for another episode of some weird shit happened in the Turkish league. It's my favorite daily plot. This time, it happened while I was away filming the next episode of Hidden Grounds, but you knew I was going to get back to this. I'm not going to miss a wonderful time in the Turkish league. I mean, I enjoy a Turkish delight as much as the next guy, probably more than the next guy, right? Because we get to talk about the Turkish league so much. And I want to give the Turkish league a lot of credit. Because there's a lot of fucking quality in the Turkish league right now. You want to know how to build a league over a long period of time. There is a lot of money. There is a lot of talent in the Turkish league right now, both foreign and domestic. There are packed stadiums, and it is a league that by a lot of metrics should be able to compete with, maybe a team like Sporting if you put a Galatasaray out there or a Fenerbahce out there. And that's why both of those teams have managed to make it into European knockouts this season. It is a league that definitely is positioning itself to continue to grow. The problem is there's one thing holding it back, and that is the Turkish penchant for fucking nonsense. Just complete, utter tomfoolery. And that is not going away. And so much of it, the reason that I say I talk about Turkey so much comes from the idea that the league is rigged. The problem is the idea that the league is rigged is not something that is proven, or in the case of, autocratic states around the world, like that one team in Turkmenistan that literally wins every single game, it's not painfully obvious, right? There is a kind of Real Madrid with the refs, but on steroids feeling about the refs in Galatasaray. I'm just going to fill you in there. Because Galatasaray is a very talented team. They are very good. They are a longtime bully of the Turkish league. They are, of course, not the only team that does this. Obviously, there are other teams that are capable of winning the league, and they do so at a fairly regular interval. But Galatasaray has Alvaro Morata, who scored a penalty in the 12th minute against Adana Demirspor over the last weekend. The problem in that particular match, and the reason that I am here talking about it today, is that they were awarded another penalty in the 30th minute, and it was that penalty that sparked a pretty significant conversation. If you're wondering, wow, does Galatasaray have Alvaro Morata and Victor Osimhen? Yes, they do. Then they are not, at least at this point, clearly running away with the league. They are at the moment up with a 3-point advantage over Fenerbahce, who of course managed to put together one of the best seasons you will ever see while not winning the league last season. I believe they had 102 points, but didn't win the league in a 38-match season last year, which is just absolutely diabolical. And it seems that we are once again headed towards a season like that. I mean, Galatasaray still hasn't lost a game. But if you ask Adana Demirspor, for example, maybe they haven't lost a game because it's rigged. But here's Osimhen, right? It's 1-0. They've already scored on a penalty. Osimhen's shot is blocked. It bounces in towards the middle, and the defender for Adana Demirspor is going to lunge towards it. Now, watching from this angle, you see that Dries Mertens is going to get to this ball way early. Now, I'm going to give you the full time here. I mean, that's a look. So they gave that as a penalty. All right. And this is the classic, I want to call it the Arjen Robben quandary. How far away do you have to be from a defender when they throw themselves in front of you? A leg, a foot, a toenail, right? It doesn't matter what they're throwing in front of you. How far away do you have to be from that defender that there is a reasonable expectation that you're supposed to get out of the way? Because it is very obvious that Dries Mertens draws this penalty, right? He gets to the ball an hour before this guy, and you see it from this angle. He literally hooks the defender's leg with his leg, but it's not like the defender isn't making a bit of a clumsy lunge in that direction, right? He is making a bit of a clumsy lunge. It's just particularly from this point of view, you can see Dries Mertens very intentionally just hook the foot of the defender, and that's the second penalty. After which, Adana Demirspor held a meeting with its coach on the side of the field that also included the owner of the club. Apparently, he got involved in the conversation. Sorry, not the owner, the president, Murat Sunçak, who was involved in the conversation, and ultimately it was his decision to pull his team off the field. Adana Demirspor just left. This is the second time that I have made a video about a Turkish team just leaving the field early because what they believe to be referee bias. Now, there are a couple of directions that you could go with this, because we're going to challenge the bounds of your mind a little bit, right? Can you imagine a world where a La Liga match was stopped because Real Madrid got a particularly suspect penalty or something, and the other team just left the field. It's a dangerous precedent because clearly in Turkey, these teams feel comfortable doing something like this. And it is very possible that there is at least a large subconscious bias towards Galatasaray, right? I mean, it is entirely possible. It's become such a problem. They actually admit at some point in here that they were bringing in foreign referees from other leagues to be the VAR officials because they couldn't find Turkish officials that would be able to step in there, that they would either have 100% confidence in or have 100% confidence that the fans would have 100% confidence in them. But I'm going to save them a click on that one. The fans are not going to have 100% confidence in anyone. But this is a bad penalty call. In my personal opinion, this penalty call sucks. It's against the spirit of the rule. It's against the spirit of the game. I don't like it. Instead of trying to play the game, he's very clearly trying to just hook the guy's leg and go down. And I think in a VAR review, you should just allow this to go. That being said, I do not think that this penalty call is so egregious that in itself is proof of a giant conspiracy for Galatasaray. Now, that didn't stop Jose Mourinho, who, of course, is managing their big title rival, from posting this right afterwards, which is him basically just applauding. It's him applauding and then the freaking video of the penalty. I mean, he's the master troll artist, right? And Fenerbahce is threatened to leave the Turkish league because they would believe, what they believe to be corruption. There's been a lot of crazy drama around this alleged corruption that's going on with Galatasaray. But this is where I'm torn, because there is a buildup to this. It is not just this incident that leads Adana Demirspor to go off, but I don't think this incident alone is bad enough to warrant the type of reaction that Adana Demirspor put out in just leaving the field. Because there have been calls this bad in the Prem. There have been calls this bad in La Liga. I mean, for crying out loud, we did a video on this channel about a goal that just basically should have gone in. But La Liga didn't have goal line technology, even though it was an obvious goal. But the team stayed on the field and they finished the match. The really unfortunate thing about football, particularly with the introduction of VAR, is that they're still going to get things wrong. As VAR gets used more and more, they're going to get better and better at applying it, and some of the more obvious errors are going to go away, but they're still just going to get things wrong. They're human beings trying to officiate a game, and they're going to get it wrong. Now, of course, there are plenty of referees in the history of football and in the world today that are taking bribes, that are, succumbing to hard pressure or soft pressure in order to tilt results in one favor or another. I'm not going to pretend that that's not happening. But I don't think that this one incident warranted Adana Demirspor leaving the field, which is where I kind of at least lean, at least initially, with the Galatasaray vice president, Metin Öztürk. He said if teams are to withdraw after every unfair penalty, the league will end in the fourth week, which... yeah, but I mean, that's kind of a commentary on how bad the refereeing standard is in your country. If there are that many unfair penalties being given out, that the entire league would shut down in the fourth week. Like, I totally get where the Galatasaray vice president is coming from here. The idea that if everybody, every time they get treated unfairly by the ref, just decides to quit the game entirely, that you're not going to be able to have a functional league. There's other discussions going on in these various articles about what happened, where Galatasaray's various members of the administration, right, are talking about that there are people out there that are trying to keep Turkish football down, and the Turkish football will never be as serious a contender as I really believe that it should be, with the money and player quality that it's able to bring to bear, because it is subject to all of this insanity that continues to go on. And all of those points make complete sense. But the reason that this shit happens in Turkey, and the reason it doesn't happen in other places, is even though people in, the people in Spain believe that Real Madrid gets the whistle, or people in England believe that certain teams get the whistle, or that Manchester City gets really easy draws, or whatever, right? There has not been an erosion of trust to the point where teams and fan bases start to encourage and do this, right? The reason that this is happening, the reason that even a particular, I would say a run-of-the-mill terrible penalty decision, like it's a sort of penalty decision that you frothing at the mouth and mad about if you're a fan of the club, but you also aren't, able to scientifically prove that it is a rigged decision. So run-of-the-mill terrible decision. That sort of thing could set off this much drama. Right, we're talking about a league where this isn't the first time in the last 12 months that a team has left the field because of refereeing issues. We're talking about a league where, and I've already mentioned most of this stuff, where a team is threatened to leave, where there has been boiling tension for decades, right? In multiple match-fixing conspiracies, of which Fenerbahce was involved in one as well. So it's not like there's anybody that's sitting around with like their nose is completely clean. I'm not going to pretend to know all the lore here. I just know that this has been a dirty mud wrestling match over the sanctity of the Turkish league for a long time. And that trust has eroded so severely that I really don't know how they're going to be able to get it back. But in the meantime, I can appreciate the fact that the league is in fact playing good football, and maybe even more importantly, it's wildly entertaining. And these dudes are badasses. Okay. Speaking on Ekol TV, Sanchek, who is the president, of course, of Adana Demirspor, he reacted harshly to allegations that the decision to withdraw from the field came from the Fenerbahce president, Ali Koç, because again, for Galatasaray, Fenerbahce is the evil brother, and then for Fenerbahce, Galatasaray is the evil brother. So if anything happens like this, they're just going to point at the other one and be like, you rigged this. But then Sanchak dropped an absolute bar. Neither Ali Koç nor the richest man in Turkey can buy me. Hell yeah, man. This is just a bunch of hot-headed, ego-driven owners who love their fucking clubs that are just at war with the league. They're at war with the refs. They're at war with everybody. One caveat, though, just to give them credit, they said that they pulled their team off the field to protest the referees, and they made sure to say that the protest wasn't necessarily against Galatasaray at all. So it's not necessarily direct club-on-club warfare here. But if you want personality and an edge to the game, I don't think there's anywhere better than Turkey right now. And this title race is going to be absolutely epic. And Adana Demirspor leaving the field in their match against Galatasaray, which, by the way, is going to be decided by the FA in the next couple of days, which way it's going to go or how that's going to be handled. I think they'll just give the win to Galatasaray because, Adana Demirspor just decided to leave the field. That would be the only logical conclusion, unless there's some way that they're going to be able to prove that the match was fixed in the first place. This title race is going to be epic, and this is just more fuel to the fire. And I want more fuel to be on this fire. As a neutral observer who's not living and dying with each match of these teams, this chaos is incredibly entertaining. It just is.